come out of the 1990s.
But he has 3,000 more followers than you.
I know. That's why I think so funny. Trust me, there are people a lot worse than the radical Christian, and they've got like 400,000 followers.
I like the retro thing.
Money's pouring down and the people are down and it's flooding out of town. I hit the second deck and I'll split my paycheck, and my wife that I just met, she's looking like a wreck. Casino queen, my Lord, you're mean, but I've been gambling like a fiend on your table so green.
And we're here.
Okay, we're this
Experimenting with fun things. We're going to see if we get kicked off of YouTube.
We are going to now, because that was Casino Queen.
By Wilco.
Not only will they not get kicked off YouTube, but we're probably going to hell.
Why?
What?
Why does that mean you're going to hell?
I just want to play. Well, you've told people they're going to hell for
Not loving people.
Not loving people.
That's a principle in the Bible.
Matt.
There's not a principle in the Bible. It's like, don't listen to Wilco Casino Queen, or you're going to hell. Not really a thing. It doesn't benefit you. It's like the first thing when you get out of jail, you want coffee and then heroin.
Okay.
Remember that was
Stanley Manley.
Stanley Manley.
Yeah, Stephen Manley. Yeah, I don't know how many people call him Michael Stanley or Stephen.
In Cleveland, a lot.
Yeah, but may he rest in peace.
In pieces.
Not Stephen Manley, but Michael Stanley. All right, this is Uneducated. We are here on the, let's see, the 10th, 12th.
The 11th.
The 11th.
It's the 11th of June.
Of June.
We are streaming on Facebook. We are streaming on the Northeast Tube. Mm-hmm. And we are streaming on the new Uneducated channel.
Uneducated channel.
You're going to need to hop over to the Uneducated channel and subscribe, because eventually, after we pull our 3 followers over there, that's where Uneducated will be.
Yeah. And you won't be able to find us on the Northeast Community YouTube page.
But listen, those 3 followers, one of them is Joe Rogan. So when we're pulling, they're like big followers.
Yeah.
It's Donald Trump, Joe Rogan, and the guy who invented the Pez dispenser.
Oh, I don't know his name.
Yeah, I don't either, but he's a follower.
I thought maybe you were going to see Jeffrey Epstein. But...
No, he was. We lost one.
Oh, we did.
Remember, it went 75, 74?
Oh, yeah.
That was when he was murdered in jail.
That was Jeffrey.
Yeah, Jeffrey's gone.
Oh, well. Okay, so today we're going to continue down this vein of the UFO thing. So, boys, put on your cosmic seatbelt, because we're going to talk about how this UFO deception or UAP deception is going to rattle the world, and probably be coming from the religious movements of the world as well.
Right.
Because I think they're going to accept it, readily accept it, because they're already pushing for it. So today we're going to... So what I thought we would do is we would start picking apart different religions. That's always fun to do. But it's not that we're trying to beat them up. It's that we're trying to look at what they believe about UFO phenomenon, about aliens, and then we'll go from there and see whether or not this might be something that could easily be a deception. So, today we're going to talk about Mormonism a little bit. So, boys, Mormonism is a faith that started back in the early 1800s with a guy by the name of Joseph Smith, who received some revelation from an angel. Actually, he supposedly first was visited by Jesus Christ and God, and was told that none of the other denominations and faiths had it all together. They didn't have the truth. So God was going to give Joseph Smith the truth, and he did that through an angel by the name of Moroni. And Moroni actually was a human being at one time, but was exalted to godlike status or angelic status. But when he was a human, he was given these golden tablets, which have the actual truth of who God is and what he desires for his people on these golden tablets. And he was given to them by his dad. And then he took, and then he took these tablets and he buried them in some place, I think, up in New York. And Joseph Smith was supposed to go get them, and then when he got them, he was going to be able to write this Book of Mormon and tell everybody about what's going on.
Jesus left it there.
No, Moroni is the one who buried it there.
Jesus came over. The Mormons believe that Jesus came over after he did his work.
Yeah.
And he ascended. He came over here, and I thought he buried the tablets to be found by Joseph Smith, and Moroni told him where they were.
Well, you can go to the Mormon YouTube stuff where they're talking about their information. But you're right. Jesus was reported to have come over and preached the gospel to the American Indians and the natives here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. Right. But the storyline is that these specific tablets that are written in a language that Joseph Smith could not decipher unless he wore particular glasses.
Here's why I thought it was important that Jesus left them here, because then the Mormons could claim that it's certifiably deitized. I don't use the word I'm trying to make here. If Jesus leaves it, it has credibility.
Yeah.
If just an angel leaves it.
Mm-hmm. But see, that's the thing. Mormons don't believe Jesus is anything more than just
a messenger.
A messenger,
but
a
he's
prophet.
still a messenger.
Yeah.
He's still a prophet.
So
he'd
be on the same level as Moroni.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
So I don't think that'd be a problem.
Okay.
But either way, these tablets had to be deciphered, so Joseph Smith deciphered them through a pair of glasses that he supposedly had, and never actually had to.
It's a real Transformers story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he wrote the Book of Mormon, and then the Book of Mormon now, along with the Bible, the Church of Latter-day Saints, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, has the Bible as one of their texts and the Book of Mormon as one of their texts. However, in their doctrinal statements, the Book of Mormon, which Joseph Smith wrote, is actually, it trumps the Bible in whatever you're supposed to believe in that. So within the midst of that, though, if you go back to the history of that, Joseph Smith, it is reported that his father and grandfather were Masons, Freemasons, and that Joseph Smith himself was a Freemason, and that a lot of the symbolism and things in the Mormon church are from Masonic rituals as well. Now, some of the Mormons who would tackle this idea would say, well, that's just going to be a no-brainer because obviously they're influenced by Joseph Smith because he was influenced by the Freemason Church or the Freemasons, so that would influence some of the things that we've done. However, they say that that's not the same as the Freemasons and they don't practice those kind of things and blah, blah, blah. But it's interesting that certain symbols, handshakes, different things.
And the Mormons accept Masons.
And they do. Mormons are okay with accepting people from secret societies such as the Masons. They will welcome them into membership, yes. But, of course, membership is always about whether or not you do what they ask you to do.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So here we are then. So the Mormons, through Joseph Smith's teaching and through these tablets, they believe that revelation is ongoing. They will not necessarily make a statement. Joseph Smith would not make a statement that this is what our doctrines are, or this is what we believe. However, he did write what are known as their articles of faith. So they do have a kind of a particular thing of how to live and what they believe is true, but they believe that's ongoing revelation and that could change at any time. So that opens them up also to this kind of deception that's about to come on the scene here from alien phenomenon, because that deception is going to allow them to say, oh, this could be new revelation for us. We believe that we have all the revelation.
And technically speaking, the Moroni guy can already be an alien.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be an angel, right?
Yeah, right.
He very easily could trade one for another. So they already are steeped in visitors from other places.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then, Brandon or Matt, you might be able to speak to this a little bit, but I sent you some videos because in the meantime, the Mormon Church does believe in the afterlife, but they also believe in something that they call the pre-material or pre-mortal existence of people. So, do you guys remember about any of that that I sent you that we looked at? Because they believe that all of us have existed as God's children in the spirit realm before we ever became human. Did you get that?
I didn't get that.
Okay.
I got the other part where we all get to start a universe.
Okay. So here's the thing. That means that Jesus himself and even God himself was at one time a human being.
Right.
So then somehow they attained spiritual status or this kind of immortality, and they became God, and then they created planets. One of the planets
Well, they
is ours.
became a god.
Yes,
Yeah.
a God. Hmm. And so now what happens is that our spirits, which we've always existed with God, or with these gods, then we have to, in order for us to be trained and tested, we have to come to this planet and take on flesh, just like Jesus did. We have to take on flesh in order to learn how to attain to godhood and become gods. And then one day we'll have our own planets, or we may rule over other planets.
Well, we'll start our own universe.
Or start our own universe.
Which means that literally there's infinite gods and universes.
Right. Yes, right.
Right. Yeah.
And which is interesting because, okay, so now we don't know who the true God is, if there is a God out there. We don't know if he's good.
Right.
We don't know anything about...
You still have the chicken or the egg.
Right.
There's no prime mover. There's no God who thought of all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, they do believe in Genesis that God created, but the God who created was also once a man, and there was somebody over him, some God over him.
Right.
So this still takes you back in this perpetual...
There's never a beginning.
No. So to me, it falls really
pointless.
short. Yeah.
Well, it becomes pointless.
Right.
Because then it's like, well, are there good planets and bad planets? Who determines good planets and
Right.
bad? Who determines good behavior, bad behavior?
Right.
I mean, he calls everything into question
Yeah.
as far as morality.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's just throw this out then. You got people like Mitt Romney, who's senator of Utah.
Mittens.
And
Yeah.
Utah is where the Mormon Tabernacle is, the main one there.
Utah.
So Mitt has a lot of influence in the political realm. You've got guys like Glenn Beck, who left Fox News or was technically kicked out of Fox News for all of his conspiracy stuff. And then on top of that, he's now begun his own network called the Blaze TV. And in that, he has a lot of different people running their shows through the Blaze, right?
Yeah.
So Christians.
Sure.
I can't think of the lady. I can't think of her name. But when good is not enough, or when good is enough, or something like that, I can't remember her name. She's a blonde girl. She has a show on there, but she's Christian.
Yeah.
And then you have the Duck Dynasty guy.
Yeah.
Robertson.
Yeah.
He's on there. So Glenn is locking arms and really kind of drawing in Christians as a part of his network, and those kind of things. But Glenn, you can see in his conversation with different people when he interviews people, or he's talking about this whole alien phenomenon thing, that Glenn is looking for that one day where he will be creating his own planet, or looking towards making another world or another universe.
Right. Like he's practicing here, building
Yeah.
his own empire.
Right.
Right.
So these are a lot of influences that are out there in the world. So I just think that people need to be somewhat knowledgeable about what the Mormon Church believes before they run in and start thinking that this UFO stuff is just for kids and it's sci-fi. Because
Well, and he's been getting very excited about the UFO thing, and studying this a little bit this week explains why. Right.
Right.
It's a fulfillment of prophecy for them.
Yeah.
And it's like we were talking downstairs. Satan has literally created all of these things
Right.
that are going to end up being fulfilled when a false teacher comes.
Yep.
Like, right down to the occult, and we talked about the Mahdi and
Right.
all of these things. There literally is a lie and all of those people who are believing the deception are
Right.
looking for that false teacher
Right.
to arrive on the scene.
Yep.
Which explains the movie that we watched on Netflix where the guy was Jesus, but he wouldn't tell no one he was Jesus.
The Messiah.
The Messiah.
Yeah.
That movie is explained.
Yeah. And everything from that movie on Netflix, that series, The Messiah on Netflix, to the Alien movies, and to what's...
Did you watch Childhood's End?
I couldn't figure out how to get it for free. Because you can't get it unless unless you have a streaming network that you're paying for somewhere. So I was trying to find it free, but I couldn't find it.
You don't have Amazon Prime?
Yeah, but it's not on there. It's on Amazon Prime?
Yeah.
I couldn't find it.
It's original content for them.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, I'll go look for it again. Maybe I was looking other places and I just forgot Amazon Prime, but I thought I checked it.
No, it's Amazon Video.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's an original for them.
All right.
Yeah.
Now I did watch the trailer though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looked kind of freaky.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything that's going on today is pointing towards the need of a savior.
Yep.
And now we're looking to the skies for extraterrestrial phenomenon or people from other planets that might have some kind of access to help us. And some people are freaking out that maybe they're not going to be nice, but they're going to be hostile, and we're going to have to fight against them. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that people are going to embrace whatever this being is or this entity. I think they're going to embrace it because it's going to offer a false sense of security and hope.
I think, like COVID, the government's gonna tell us we can trust them. Mm-hmm. That's what I think. Dr. Fauci.
Yeah.
Listen, the aliens are good.
Right.
I talked to them.
Right.
They're fine.
Yeah.
Don't wear a mask around them.
Yeah. Because they're immune to everything.
They're immune to everything, and we're immune to them.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Like my other mind switcheroos.
Yeah. So
it'd be great.
So so when it comes down to the Mormon faith, I think people need to be careful that the Mormons are 16 million strong. That's a lot of people. And although if you listen to a normal kind of everyday Mormon, they're probably not going to sit there and tell you that, we
think
believe
we're going to be gods of universes.
They won't tell you that.
Yeah, we wear special underpants. They're not breaking all that out on day one.
They're not.
No.
They're not. However, the rituals that they have to go through, like you're not saved just by knowing the person of Jesus Christ. You are saved by his atoning blood in the Church of the Mormon, but you're also saved by accepting Joseph Smith. You had to accept Joseph Smith and Brigham Young, who was his successor.
And I still draw a connection that if Joseph Smith was a Mason, and Masons believe the lie that Satan was the good one in the garden,
Right.
you are getting direct,
Yeah.
foul garbage.
Right. Yeah.
Lie.
I would agree.
And it's then he made himself
Right.
that if you believe in what Joseph Smith said, then you'll be saved.
Yeah.
He made himself Jesus.
Right. He did, and I would say that he very well could have been deceived as well.
Do you think Brigham Young did Brigham Young make himself a savior too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you have to believe in both Joseph Smith and Brigham Young, his successor.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty
Two lucky
crazy
dudes
stuff.
there.
Not to mention you have to go through all the rituals, and you have to keep the commandments. And what's interesting
You can
about
have a lot of wives.
you can.
You can.
I actually was listening to that. Do you know why the Mormon Church does not practice polygamy anymore?
I just thought it was really hard to do in the United States where that's not allowed.
No. Well, that's exactly it. Yes.
No,
you're right.
we chased them to Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened was when that law happened, they started coming down. The church started getting hammered by the law.
Yeah.
And the president at that time said, "Okay, we're ruling this out now because
Yeah.
this is not working for us. It's not helping us."
Because Kirtland was a stop off. Like that's a foundational place
Right.
for the Mormons. Is
Right.
Kirtland, Ohio.
Yep.
Yeah, and they were chasing them west,
Okay.
and they finally said, "Okay, Utah," because Utah at the time it's very hostile. It's desert.
Right.
It has the Great Basin meeting the whatever the continental divide. It's weird. It's like the west. It's like the Northwest meets the desert, and it's a hostile place.
Gotcha.
And so I believe where I'm at is they were like, surely no one will bother us in this piece of crap land.
Gotcha.
We
Yeah.
picked the most hostile. Nobody wants this. Leave us alone.
Right.
Is what I think happened. And they ended up in Utah.
Yeah. Well, there in Utah, they have made a good name for themselves, a good place for themselves. From my understanding, I've never been there, but from my understanding, that tabernacle at night,
It's amazing.
it's almost lit up like it's daytime there.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a focal point. I've been there a few times.
Wow.
And from where you are, it's in a valley. And from almost wherever you are in the valley, at nighttime, you can look up because they almost put the church up in the hillside-ish.
Okay.
And you can see it from wherever you are. And it is, I sent you pictures
Wow.
the one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the interesting thing. So they don't practice polygamy anymore because of the law. However, there are some radicals that fundamentalists, they're actually called Mormon fundamentalists, that do still practice polygamy because they said, listen, this is what Joseph Smith said we were supposed to do, because Joseph Smith, I think, was believed to have somewhat up to about 30 wives, possibly.
Well, and they wanted you to have a bunch of babies because that was you propagating
right.
the people.
Which is exactly what the Islamic faith talks about too.
Okay.
Is propagating the gospel through having large families.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so they don't practice the polygamy anymore, the whole wife things, but family is really important to them. And you can see now why family is important. Because we were supposedly these spirit beings that were created by a mother and our father, who is God. We call God. It was him and a mother. They don't really
Not
tell who that mother is.
put on the mother.
Yeah, but she was there somehow. And they had all of us. And then, of course, we had to put on flesh and come. But that's part of us. We're supposed to be creating families and building up families. That's why they have this strong emphasis for strong families. And they make it sound really appealing because they're really into strong families.
Right.
Huge into strong families.
Right.
And so now all of a sudden you've got this idea of creating families, but they create these families because they want them to obviously go to heaven when they die. And the way they go to heaven is to believe in Jesus Christ and his atonement for sin, the fact that he died, but as a human, not as God, as a human, he died in our place, but then to believe in Joseph Smith and Brigham Young, and then to follow all the tenets of the Mormon faith. And if you do that, you can attain to what they call eternal life. That's the afterlife. You can attain to eternal life, which is what they call the glory of the Son, and you can attain to that life which is in the presence of God and Jesus. You can live there forever. Now, everybody is children of God, so everybody's going to get to this realm, this immortality, but only if you do the things the Mormon Church tells you will you attain to what they call righteousness and this glory of the Son, which is with God and Jesus.
You get to have your own planet.
Right.
Yeah.
The next one is the glory of the moon, which is this idea that if you've been a pretty good person and but even though you haven't embraced,
but you didn't quite make it.
yeah, well, you didn't embrace Jesus.
You like to have a beer with your pizza.
Right.
Yeah.
So you'll get to go to that place.
Okay.
And hang out there. And then the last one is, I think, the celestial kingdom, which is the glory of the stars. You get to hang out there, and those are people who wanted nothing to do with the whole Jesus thing, but they're at least going to get to that celestial kingdom.
Oh, they at least followed the Book of Mormon.
I don't even think they did that.
Oh.
Because everybody's children of God.
Yep.
Now, here's what's interesting. They believe that there are going to be a small number of people. And they don't
So there's
really
no
describe-
hell is what you're saying.
Well, no, there is.
Oh, okay.
But it's for the devil and his angels, Satan and his angels, but it's also for just a select few people that really messed up.
They were really like Hitler.
Maybe
Hitler's going to go to... Yeah.
And I'm not sure how they figure out who is going, who are those small select few. But
Yeah.
So all of us, then, we have this hope of some kind of eternal or immortality that we're going to live forever through the Mormon Church. And in that mortality, or in that immortality, we're going to have these powers almost like these alien or celestial beings. We're going to have a knowledge that's above anything else.
Yeah.
And so we've been there, and now we're here, and we're going back there.
I mean, listen, if you didn't know Dollars and Donuts, that'd be fun to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be, I guess it's far-fetched.
I think it's pretty
But if
far-fetched.
somebody was telling you this thing and you were primed to like, all right, I got to believe something.
Right.
It sounds fun.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad.
It sounds cool.
And they bring just enough truth in from the Bible.
And I have to tell you, they are nice people.
They are.
They're super nice. They're, great people usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have to be if they're going to get to the righteous state,
Right.
the glory of the Son.
Yeah, and I mean they work real hard because they're trying to get there on their own
Right,
power.
right.
You again, like one of the interesting points, I don't remember who it was made it. The Christianity, Jesus Christ Christianity, is the only religion that you can't obtain on your own power.
Right.
He buys it for you.
Yeah.
Every other religion, you're working your way there.
Yeah.
And the Mormons are some of the hardest working I've ever seen.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
they're really putting in the time.
Yeah. So let's go back to Glenn Beck. I don't know if you have any of those YouTube videos, or if we can pull them up anyhow. But so he's talking to this dude. I can't remember his name now.
He was from Harvard.
Yeah, he was a professor at Harvard, and he runs the.
Yeah. Do you want me to see if I can pull this up while you
Yeah,
talk about it a
yeah,
little
if
bit?
you can. But this dude's kind of interesting because he's a little odd, to say the least. But he's a scientist, so scientists are usually a little odd. They think differently. They kind of talk differently because their minds just don't work like the average person. But he's talking with Glenn, and Glenn's, kind of probing him for questions and asking him about this whole alien thing. And this guy's kind of on board with Glenn, and Glenn's on board with him. And this guy's going back to this kind of idea that, listen, religion has kind of kept this stuff from us, or it doesn't teach us about these things. It kind of stops at this. But the truth of the matter is that there is good possibility that there is this life form out there, and we need to figure out who they are and why they exist and how that could help us, change our faith. And then Glenn, even in one of his videos, Glenn even makes a comment. He's like, do you think that would change a person's faith if aliens were known to be real? And one of the dudes was like, oh yeah, I think 100% it would change people's faith. And it is going to. It is literally going to change people's faith, whether people want to believe it or not. When the United States government or this whole thing is revealed or whatever it is, it's going to change the way people believe. And I think it's going to be a deception that's beyond compare.
Do you remember
the time frame? Let me look back.
This is only a 3-minute clip. Hold on. I think I'm failing.
That's all right. Nope. Let me find because I gave you guys time frames, like where to check. So I'll just go back and look.
Now listen.
So
Vody Bachman has an hour. This guy they just did this podcast, and I know it's like an hour long. I watched it.
Okay.
I can only find this 3-minute clip.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And it doesn't have a number on it.
Huh.
I'm just doing something wrong.
Here, let me see if I can find it. No, that's not it. That's the one Brandon sent. I don't want that one. No, I don't want that either. Man, these are all the ones Brandon sent? Yeah, they are. What the?
This is really good radio time.
Yeah, it is. It's perfect.
This is a good.
Heard you guys talking a little bit.
All right, that's not it. Brandon, we're losing focus.
Donald Trump.
Yeah?
You all right?
You having anxieties or something? You got to get out of Dodge? All right, well, let us know what's going on.
Well, listen, do you want me to play this 3-minute clip?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, we might as well. Is this object proof we've already been visited by something?
Yeah.
New home to life with 200
ads.
meg internet from Suddenly.
I love ads.
Near Earth that came from outside the solar system.
I must start over.
Let's go back to 2017 and describe what the observatory picked up in Hawaii and named it basically the English equivalent of, if I'm not mistaken, the Visitor, right?
A scout, yes.
Yeah, a scout. That's right, a scout.
Oumuamua means a scout or a messenger from far away. And this is the very first object that was discovered near Earth that came from outside the solar system.
First question.
It's an interstellar
First
object.
question.
The reason we know that is because...
Wait. Why? There should be interstellar space junk, floating everywhere. Why is this the first one we've ever found?
Oh, because we didn't have survey telescopes.
Okay.
Okay, so this was the guy, and you found the whole thing. Do you know what minute you wanted me at?
40 minutes on that one.
At 40 minutes?
Yeah.
All right, let me go search it.
It's Harvard astronomer makes humble case, which is interesting because this is what's so funny about this. They're making this humble case about how we should all be more humble.
Yes.
And we should believe that maybe there is something else out there. Which is fine. But then at the end of the thing, Glenn Beck goes, I just want to say that you are the most amazing man that I have ever known and one of the smartest men that I've ever known. And I'm thinking, we're talking about being humble, and they're...
Or flip this all on its ear we need to be more humble, but we're throwing in your face are the lifestyle that we want, all the different lifestyles we want you to endorse,
Right.
and we're being flamboyant about it.
Yeah.
Like our whole culture is flamboyant about everything they're pushing.
Right.
But we need to be more.
Right.
No, listen, there's a lot of irony in all of this.
No, there is. Yeah, so if you go to minute 40, I think they're going to talk about this real quick.
Find out how close you
Sorry, stupid ads. And it's all on the monitor. I'm really sucking wind right now. Hold on.
That's all right.
Minute 40.
Yep, that'll be good.
Which is, we don't know what happened before the Big Bang.
Right.
There is a point in time when everything that we see started.
Right.
Okay. And, by the way, it matches more or less the idea that is in the first chapter of the Bible, the Old Testament, that there was a beginning in time. But the question is, what was there before? Where did it come from?
What is first cause?
And I thought about an interesting possibility. So right now we have Einstein's theory of gravity, and we have quantum mechanics. These are two pillars of modern physics that are not unified. We don't have quantum gravity. And therefore, we cannot go back in time beyond the Big Bang. So the Big Bang is simply the breakdown of Einstein's theory of gravity. And we know why, because it doesn't incorporate quantum mechanics. So suppose we had a theory of quantum gravity that we can trust. Then, in principle, we could contemplate the conditions under which we will create a universe in the laboratory by irritating the vacuum. In principle, it's possible. And if that is the case, perhaps the umbilical cord of our universe was in the laboratory of another civilization that created our universe, and that's where the Big Bang came from. And then when
Filling
we
Glenn
understand
Beck with
that,
glee there.
we will create another baby universe. So it's just like in human families, you have a baby that has a baby that has a baby, and that may explain how the universe came to exist.
I actually
You just described
agree with
Mormonism
you.
for me.
Even for me, at least theologically, I agree with that. With
So
quantum
right there, that's
computing now.
He said.
it's
He
huge.
says. I agree. Actually, theologically,
Because the
I
guy,
agree with
okay, so you have to imagine, it would be like watching someone come to the gospel with an understanding, but it's Glenn Beck's gospel, and he's listening to a physicist
Yep.
rehash out Joseph Smith's ideology
Right.
or thinking
Right.
in front of him,
Right.
going, yes, you're getting it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So you've got one of the largest groups of religious people on the planet, Mormons, and they are locking arms with, at least theologically and scientifically now, with a professor from Harvard, who is buying into this idea that somehow we have.
Like when they got off the phone, do you think Glenn Beck's like, I'd like to talk to you about something?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Right.
Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got this planet now that we live on, and we're all creations of something else. The umbilical cord has created us from there. That's the exact Mormon doctrine and theology of
Right.
what they believe of creation, how everything was created by all these gods and all these worlds and all this stuff. And on top of that, you've got people who are in everyday life going, this stuff isn't happening. But yet in, less than 20 days, we have the official of the Pentagon that's going to come out and give a briefing and report on all these UAPs that have been seen like daily, on a daily basis by pilots and stuff off the
Ships
coast.
and yeah.
So there's something coming.
Yeah, I agree. And again, we're all primed for it. Mm-hmm. We're all waiting and watching the skies.
Right.
You know, for our own individual saviors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Glenn Beck show. I mean, some people say, that Glenn Beck, he's a nut. Well, it's not just Glenn Beck. ABC, NBC, CNN, Fox, every local news station, even local news stations are
talking
carrying
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Australia. I mean, I watch stuff from Israel, Australia, the BBC. They're all talking about it.
Yep.
So,
I get confused because with this screen share thing, when I'm moving the mouse, it looks like I'm on my screen, but I'm actually on the TV screen.
I'm trying to check on Brandon, make sure everything's cool.
So yeah, what are the people's thoughts? We got a few people listening. Are there any thoughts out there about what we're talking about? I guess we've been talking about spiritual warfare. We've been talking about how it ties in with the alien thing. We've been talking about, like, if you think about, there's a synergy coming together of everything is making sense together now.
Right.
Well, 30 years ago, it was all pieces. It was people visiting your house in slacks and a blue shirt going, I want to tell you about the Book of Mormon.
Right.
Or I want to tell you about my Jehovah's Witness.
Right.
Or, and then you had the Christians who had the churches and the quote unquote founding of the country. And in the middle, people in the Middle East with their thing,
Right.
fighting with the Jews. And so everything's coming together.
Right.
Like, we can talk about all of this alien piece. Strangely, it brings the Mormons in.
Right.
Right? It's all coming together, and
Yeah.
it's Satan has made all of these lies,
Right.
and they're all condensing down now.
Right.
It's kind of interesting to watch and to kind of study and
Right.
watch people's excitement.
Right. And here's the thing that's so interesting about this is that every other religion and faith have no problem with throwing Jesus under the bus.
Right.
So Jesus is just a regular man
regular
in every
dude.
other faith, prophet, good person, maybe, whatever. So when these beings show up and say, yeah, Jesus, he was just another being that was created, but he came down to earth, and yeah, he did
Not
die for
denying
your
his
sins.
existence.
Right. And they may even say, like the Mormons, yeah, he suffered for you to show you what it meant to suffer.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. But he's not God.
Right.
And Paul said clearly, even if an angel comes and
The
preaches
Jehovah's
you-
Witnesses do the same thing to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Paul said if even an angel comes and preaches a different gospel than what we've preached to you, he is to be accursed. Paul clearly said that. So, I mean, granted, people could say, well, how do you know, Brian, that yours is right and, you're exclusive and how come everybody else is wrong? Well, to be quite honest, when you look at sheep and different things and you see them all going in one direction, it's probably a problem.
Right. Yeah.
Probably.
They're headed for a barn fire.
But yeah, they're heading for
For a
something-
barn fire.
Yeah, exactly.
No, listen. It's like we were talking downstairs. When you have the different thing, it's to go to your point about the sheep. When you have and to me, it's just if you get a hold of the concept, and I think this is the barrier. This is the hard thing. When you get a hold of how Jesus works, when you get a hold of how the Bible works and our God works, when he says the things that he says that are so different from everyone else, and they make sense of why we're here, then it's a no-brainer to me. And I know I could be speaking in a vacuum. You could have 3 people here that don't believe and go, well, yeah, it's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
But it's it really comes down to being your faith.
Right.
It is your faith and what you know to be true, and that there is a truth.
Right.
And that's the hard thing to get to people, especially in a day and age when there's so many truths.
Right.
Yeah. Your truth.
Right.
Again, more deception, watering it down. But we know that he is the I am.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
It's the end of the story. Yeah. It's the only book that gives you a clear beginning, a clear end, describes to you everything in the middle, makes a way for the rest of us, and has any sense at all that you are powerless on your own. You have to trust in me, the Creator who made you.
Right.
Like, it just all falls into place.
Right. And you know what's interesting is that none of the authors claimed deity themselves, and none of the authors claim that you had to believe in them in order to go to heaven.
Right. Yeah.
But yet all these other guys that are, writing these books and stuff, they're claiming that they're a part of this salvation.
You can easily take them back. It's why, I don't know. To me, it's a profound or a big connection that Joseph Smith was a Mormon, or a Mason. And the Masons have the theology that Satan was the good guy in the garden. You can take a lot of these things back to, if you can do it on your own, you will find the answer.
Right.
And then you will be like God.
Right.
Even for the Mormons, you will be like God or a God, or however you end up that way. If you're a Buddhist, if you're whatever you are, you on your own, through your work, attain God-like understanding.
Right.
And that's the lie in the garden.
I know.
That's what Satan told Eve.
Yep.
It's no different. And again, the Christian Bible is the only one that says, no, you ain't doing it on your own. I'm the answer. You come follow me.
Right.
And that's how you know it's different. That's how you know it's got to be the right answer.
Right.
You're not sheep headed for the burning barn.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And so it was a little strange for me to like say that, okay, let's start doing some shows on these different faiths, because I'm not necessarily into bashing people, but I do think it's important that people find truth and they know the truth. And the Bible clearly teaches the truth. But what's interesting, whether it's Mormonism or the Jehovah's Witness or whatever, they take the Bible itself and then they adjust it to how they want to believe that truth should be.
Yeah.
Instead of taking the Bible at its word and then putting that all together and harmonizing it and saying, okay, here's the truth. And that's where I think a lot of people are going to be deceived, because they're going to be willing to believe whatever comes down the pike because they haven't steeped themselves in the truth.
Right. Yeah, it's easy to do, and you can see how it happens.
Right.
I mean, you can see the car crash.
Right.
Headed as it's headed for the train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now there was another, which was really interesting too, is that Glenn Beck was talking about his whole family tree concept in a discussion he was having about these UAPs with two of his guys that have shows.
Pat Gray and Stu Bergier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And in the process of that,
It was interesting. Was that the one where Stu was like, I guess I never really thought. He was caught the most off guard.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because they ask him.
And again, I still think he just plays a straight man.
Okay.
I really do.
Really?
He plays dumb.
Okay.
So that I think this is the genius of Glenn Beck to bring everybody in.
Okay.
See? So Stu is the hapless Christian, and he's also the straight man that he's always like, yes, I think the shots are good and we should take them. It's science. He's that guy.
Right.
But I don't know if he actually believes that.
Gotcha.
I think that's his role to play.
Okay.
So and listen, the interview you're talking about.
And he is married to a supermodel, right?
I don't know that.
Or an actress, or
I couldn't tell you.
I thought so.
You really get involved in these shows.
Well, I think I just saw it one night when he was talking about it or something. He was talking about his wife or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're talking about this whole thing, and Glenn Beck brings up the idea that nobody's talking about these UAP, and I don't know what he's watching, but everybody's talking about him. But they're not talking in the language he wants.
Yes, right.
So he's like, nobody's talking about this. But then he makes the comment. He goes, this is about my family. He goes, this is about my entire family tree, he said. So you know that.
Well, no, he said, okay, yeah. He said this is going to be one of the most important discoveries or happenings in my family tree.
Right.
Yeah, but now when you put it in the context of how Mormons think, that's a whole other layer of an onion.
Yes.
I'm watching it. I mean, I'm just thinking about this now. I'm watching it going, okay, you mean since the time your family was on Earth.
Yeah.
But he means it's a fulfillment of his prophecies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was around.
I mean, do they think that this is the end somehow? Like when our cousins come to visit us from space, does that mean you're getting ready to shed things?
Yeah, it's probably just this new enlightenment that'll happen.
Oh, yeah. He's all about singularity.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, because he keeps pushing the singularity.
Singularity. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so now listen, when I was in Bible college, I remember when we were studying Genesis, there are people that believe theologically that some people believe that we were all of us, when God created, he created everything at one time.
Internet magical.
And so when he created everything at one time, we were all in the loins of Adam, some people believe. So all of us existed in his sperm. And so then when Adam had sex with Eve, some of us transferred into the next person. And so we have been traveling through sperm.
Okay, so listen. This is interesting about what you're saying, because Brandon sent that thing of how Elon Musk feels the world works, and that we're a simulation. And that each simulation, we're a simulation. We could be a simulation in a simulation in a simulation in a simulation. And as the simulations progress, they get weaker and weaker and weaker because the computer power in each simulation is less and less and less and less. But that flows with who are you talking about that believes this? Because that flows with the idea that Adam had all of us in his loins, and then through somehow through his sperm, the next one, the next
Right.
one, the next one, the next
I
one.
won't be able to tell you the name, but this is back way in the day, and it's
Something you heard.
It's a type of theology
Okay.
that people propagated and taught back in the day. I can't tell you who thought it up. I don't remember. It was part of our notes and in our book in our class. We probably had to have it memorized who thought about it in the class, but I don't remember now. But it was one of the theological understandings that this is how it could have happened. There also was the understanding that God had all of our spirits they did exist beforehand. Like God created all of our spirits beforehand.
Yep.
And then whenever we decided to, mom and dad got together and, had a little too much, and then all of a sudden a baby was conceived, then God would send our spirit down to be a part of that, child. And
Right.
Now that can go back to kind of some Mormonism stuff. But then there's also the theological theory that says that God creates at the point of creation. So when mom and dad have too much and they get together, God is creating the spirit, the child, everything is all done at one time. Now, you can decide which one of those you want to believe. I don't know which one is true. I don't even necessarily have a problem if God created all the spirits all at one time when he created the heavens and the earth. However, it doesn't say that he did that. It says he created Adam and Eve, and he breathed the breath of life into them.
Yeah.
And they became a living being.
Right.
And that's where we get the idea of soul or spirit
Right.
in the breath of God. And so his breath has been placed in them, and now they're living beings.
Well, and then at the time of conception, we also get the breath of God.
I would think so.
Right.
I would think so.
And that would make us all individuals.
Yes.
Right? We
Right.
all get our own soul.
Right.
Right.
Because eventually...
Or unique soul.
Yeah, because eventually what this is going to go back to is that nobody's unique. We're all part of one. So this goes back to Buddhism, Eastern philosophy, Hinduism, where we're all part of the singularity, the whole part of God, which is all of the universe, and we all kind of get absorbed back into this universe or this God thing.
Yep.
So, you still looking up one of those videos?
I'm trying to find the one that you were talking about.
Oh, with Stu and all them?
Yeah.
I might be able
It's
to
so
find
hard to
that.
find things on the regular computer. I'm used to using my
It's
phone.
entitled "Confirmed UFOs Have Insane Capabilities." That's the one, and it's him and the three of those guys talking. I believe. Maybe I could be wrong, but yeah, that's it. Confirmed UFOs have insane capabilities. Are they proof of alien existence? And him and the one dude are talking, and then Stu comes in.
Am I the only one that thinks it's really crazy that that's not a front page story? It's not leading every newscast right now. Is the Pentagon's acceptance and admittance that they're real, they're here,
But
we
it
don't
is.
know what they are?
It is, yeah.
It seems like there should be more discussion about it, doesn't it?
Right.
I played
It's
a
like,
guy.
it's. I don't know if what's worse, thinking that people don't care, or the fact that when I tell people, they say the same thing. Wait a minute.
What?
When did the Pentagon say this?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. They've been saying it for a while now. What are you talking about?
Which goes to the lack of coverage on it. I played a guy on my show yesterday who's from.
But they then go on to talk about how we've been conditioned, like we were talking last week.
Right.
That's why they had to change the name.
Right.
We've been conditioned to tune out UFOs. So we're tuning them out. We're doing what they told us to do.
Yeah.
So that's why they've had to rename them.
Right.
I think they talk about that.
From who
like
did
11
research
minutes.
for the Pentagon that was
What time? We got time.
researching this phenomenon for a long time, and he was describing a vehicle that travels 13,000 miles an hour, has no obvious form of propulsion, that has no exhaust, that doesn't have wings. We don't know how it's flying in the air, but it can go through the air or under the ocean at about the same
And
speed.
in space.
And in space.
And in space.
Yeah.
The medium in which it is flying through doesn't seem to affect it at all.
So that's clearly,
There's no vehicle that we know.
that's clearly not from this planet, right? Because it's obviously not ours. You talked to a guy who said we're trying to reverse
Yeah,
engineer
let's,
some of the
I'm gonna
things
try
that
and find
we've
the Stu part.
found from unidentified
Right.
flying.
There.
Stu.
They bring in Stu. Stu's in.
Oh, his real name's Stuzen.
Important story of my family's lifetime.
Oh, there it is. That's what you're
I
talking
mean, the
about.
lifetime of my entire family tree.
We'll go get the context of all that.
Yeah.
We're now like a YouTube clip show.
And their job with the Pentagon is to try to reverse engineer it. How did this come to be? And they haven't been able to find out yet. And Stu, what does it say about us? Because I really can't get my arms around this. I think it's the most important story of my family's lifetime. I mean, the lifetime of my entire family tree. And nobody seems to really either know about it or care. Nobody's following this story.
The only thing I can really take from it is that we've had such a long training, basically, as a population of UFO stories not being real.
See, he's always
everyone
the
has
straight guy.
so long been trained that, like,
Yeah.
you hear these reports.
Weather
and,
balloons.
and it kind of
Swamp gas.
Yeah. And even if they are, that maybe some of those were real, right? But we've been so long trained to just be like, all right, I mean, UFOs again. But I mean,
we were trained.
Yeah.
We were trained by the government and the Pentagon.
That it
the
wasn't
people
real.
who are admitting it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm with you, and I am surprised it's not a bigger story. There are a lot of other things going on. I mean, that could be it as well. Things that feel more urgent because we haven't seen a laser strike down into a tower like Independence Day yet. But like, it's hard. And some of these stories, by the way, we should point out, some of these videos are from several years ago. Right, so like, there's a
Yeah, but they admitted on 60. They admitted on 60 Minutes that they are tracking them every day.
Yeah, he said every day for a few years.
The guys, the guys that were on said,
Amazing.
These are over our military and naval bases and over the continent, over things like Cheyenne Mountain.
So I don't know how far.
What's
you wanna
Cheyenne
go.
Mountain?
Cheyenne Mountain's where we keep our. No, that's Yucca Mountain. Yucca Mountain is where we keep our nuclear waste.
Okay.
Cheyenne Mountain is where NORAD is.
Okay.
We have deep within the Colorado mountain, NORAD, which is a central monitoring facility for, they control the satellites, or they watch all the satellite feeds. They are watching everything, everywhere, all the time, buried deep in this mountain.
Gotcha.
So, and the idea is it's hidden in a mountain. If the end of the world comes, they'll still have a command control center.
Right.
And that's where, okay, there's the let me get off the TV here. There's the conspiracy theory that the Denver airport
Yes.
has tunnels.
Right.
Right. And so, like, they're going to bring the Queen of England. They're going to bring the Clintons, all the congressmen and senators, all the rich and fancies.
We'll fly right
We'll
in.
fly in, jump in tunnels, head down into the mountain, and that's where we're going to have our bastion of safety.
Gotcha.
Which, in the Bible, they would pull the rocks on their heads if they could.
Yeah. Right.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, come on. Come
I
on.
know.
You can't make this stuff up.
Then it says specifically, the kings of the earth, kings and princes of the earth will go into the mountains and cry out to them and say, fall on us. Because they're afraid of the wrath of the king.
NORAD.
Yeah.
Dude, all this stuff is coming together.
It is.
It's crazy.
It is.
It's crazy.
And God wrote about it thousands of years ago.
Yep.
Prophets prophesied about it. And yet people do not want to listen to this book. They want to listen to other books.
Mm-hmm.
They want to read other stuff.
Joseph Smiths of the world.
Joseph Smith. They want to believe something different about Jesus than what the scriptures clearly say. It's crazy. So I think, just to close this out today, because we only got a few minutes left, I think it's really important that we clearly define that the Bible teaches that there is one God who is the creator of heaven and earth. Colossians tells us that Jesus Christ everything was created through Jesus Christ, for him and by him. Nothing was created that exists. He says both visible and invisible, principalities, thrones, powers, rulers, authorities. Everything was created by Jesus as God. And so he created everything. And then the Bible tells us that because of man's sin, that God had to come down and put on flesh and die in our place, because sin, the wages of sin is death, and therefore we all deserve death. And so he died in our place as a substitute, a substitutionary atonement, so that anyone who believes and trusts in him and him alone, nothing else, in him and him alone, can have eternal life in him. That's the gospel message. Everything else that is in here is telling us about how that happened, about how we are to live in relationship to God, and about how this whole thing's going to go down in the end.
Right.
And it comes together perfectly. I don't see any other book that even holds a candle to this book.
No.
Not even close.
It's the ramblings of lunatics.
Right.
Every other book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So that's the idea of Mormon and aliens. I don't think you'll find a Mormon that'll say, "Hey, we believe we're going to be aliens," but they will tell you that this whole alien phenomenon is probably
They're excited
true,
about it,
and they're excited about it.
You can see Glenn Beck. I think, and I have a feeling I've gathered, because I am an aficionado of the Glenn Beck, that Pat Gray is also a Mormon.
Okay.
Yeah, like
See,
they
it makes
go to
sense.
church together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're both giddy and excited.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like this. They have this like, oh, I'm shocked, it's happening.
Right.
It's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny to watch.
Yeah, it is. So, hey, if you're, and Matt, we had that video there. We can maybe pull it up. But if you're struggling with something in your life, whether it's sin or any kind of a struggle in your life, we believe that God has the answers. And so we have a team of people that we are putting together that are able to help. And so, Matt, can we run that video real quick?
Yeah.
So it's no secret that people struggle in life, and most people do it alone in silence. Struggle with addictions, pornography, drugs, alcohol, struggling in marriage or finances. Some people have a sin in their life that they just can't overcome. We know how difficult it is, especially when you're struggling and you feel shame and guilt, like you can't talk to anyone about it. But we have a team of people here at Northeast Community Church that want to be there to help you find freedom in Christ Jesus. So if you need that, all you have to do is go to our website. And when you get to our website, you just scroll down the site and you find this box that says how to pray for you, and you click prayer request. And when you get there, you'll see if you scroll down, you'll have here if you need a prayer request, fill it out. But if you really seriously need to talk to somebody, sit down. You can make an appointment here, and you fill this information out, and you submit it, and someone will get back to you as soon as we can. Now listen, we're not telling you this can happen overnight. Sometimes it can. God is amazing. But what we want to do is we want to walk with you through this and help you as best we can to get free. Because Jesus came to set the captives free. And we believe that people do not have to struggle or stay in their sin. They can be set free. And Jesus Christ can do it. And we're here to help. Okay.
Boom.
So the other thing is this, that what we said in the beginning, you need to really listen and pay attention to this, because in probably just a few weeks, we're going to be switching over to our dedicated, uneducated channel. And you need to subscribe to that channel, because if not, you're not going to get the bells or the notifications, or you're not going to get the notifications if you hadn't clicked the bell on the uneducated channel, because we're going to be only uploading our live videos to that channel. It won't be going through Northeast Community Church channel anymore. So with that said, you need to make sure you slip over and subscribe and click the bell there as well, so that you can get notified of the recent data that's being uploaded, videos, live videos, and other videos that we upload. Also, we're going to be uploading other videos from recorded content that we've done with Stephen Manley. We have some of those that we're going to be trying to get uploaded, and some other ones that we're going to try to get uploaded from other recorded, pre-recorded interviews. The other thing is this: if you're on Facebook, make sure that you share and like our content. And every time you share and like our content, that's going to help get our content out to people who really need it.
And I really think we've been on our A game.
We have been.
I mean, we've been hitting it out of the park.
Mm-hmm. Out of the park.
Yeah. We should be right up there with, who's that guy with the glasses that you like?
The guy with the glasses. Eric Metaxas?
Yeah.
Really?
I think like there's Eric's show, and then we should be right there.
Yeah, we're close.
We definitely have gone over Todd Friel.
Yes.
This is way more entertaining.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
This is wretched.
Here's a dry potato chip to listen to.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
So he does have a nice backdrop.
He does. He has a great studio.
Yeah.
And his content's good. I was just giving him a hard time.
Right. And he does have probably at least 500,000 or 600,000 more followers than we do.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right.
Let's not cut hairs here.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here next
Catch
Friday.
you next week, guys.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You
finish out.
Well, we got an error report.